Welcome to Patent Insider Secrets, Episode 5, The Grit to Win, the story of an entrepreneur's fight for survival. This is Joe Kiani. Welcome to Patent Insider Secrets, where we bring you stories from the hidden world of intellectual property and the epic battles fought to protect it. I'm your host, Tariq Najila, veteran USPTO patent examiner, patent agent, and your guide through the 5 pillars of intellectual property. Over the past few episodes, we've covered the importance of having an IP asset mindset, developing and fortifying those assets, enforcing and defending those assets, and then commercializing them to their fullest potential. But today we're talking about grit, the sheer determination to keep going when all seems lost. So today's story is about a small town American with little more than a dream, and he built his empire from the ground up, only to find himself in a David versus Goliath fight with a massive corporation. Make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast so you can get more information like this. And here we go. We're going to get right into the story. I want you to imagine it's the 1980s. Imagine being in America with nothing but a few dollars in your pocket, an idea in your mind, and hope in your heart. That was the reality for Jimmy. A boy from a small town. Jimmy worked tirelessly, starting with odd jobs and saving every penny, starting from his garage. Slowly, he built his success. We'll call his company for this story Tech Innovators, Inc., a small but growing company focused on revolutionary tech in the software and hardware sectors. As his company grew, he began winning. He felt like he accomplished his dream. He was on his way on riding the rocket ship, getting that hockey stick, becoming a unicorn company, winning again and winning more, and getting to the bag, getting the money. But it's at this very moment that things started to get a little challenged. Seeing all of stuff like this. Jimmy said, this is it. We created something groundbreaking. Our tech would change the way the world operates. And just like that, Jimmy's tech started getting attention. His company was small, but his innovation was disruptive. It wasn't long before a huge multinational corporation came knocking at his door. They wanted to collaborate, to license Jimmy's tech, and to help them break into this new sector. But things didn't go as planned. Instead of licensing his tech, this company made a move Jimmy didn't expect. They poached his best engineers, offering them salaries Jimmy couldn't compete with. And then to add insult to injury, they started filing competing patents based on Jimmy's technology. And then came the lawsuits. One after another, this giant corporation challenged the validity of Jimmy's patents, dragging him through the courts. They were playing dirty, trying to invalidate the very patents that protected his life's work. I'm sure Jimmy would talk to the legal team. He's like, they're claiming my patents aren't valid? How is this even possible? When we developed this tech years ago, and now they're using it against us? I know, Jimmy, but they've got deep pockets. They're betting you'll run out of money before you can fight back. Don't give up just yet. We still have options. And that's exactly what Jimmy did. He fought back. He wasn't going to let them win that easily. He had built this business from nothing, and he wasn't about to let it crumble without a fight. So he dug in his heels. He started filing new patents, innovating even further. He appealed every loss, pushed through every legal challenge, and despite the odds, despite the financial burden, he fought. And I can imagine his leadership, how he galvanized his team. I know this is hard. I know it feels like we're up against a wall, but this is what they want. They want us to give up. We can't. We're going to keep fighting, keep building, and prove to them that they cannot steal what we've created. And after several losses and challenges, years went by, and Jimmy took losses, but then he also gained ground. Bit by bit, he built his case, and finally, after nearly a decade of struggle, it happened. Jimmy won. He crippled the cheating competitor, forcing them to settle and secure the future of his company. And I can imagine this call is a little different. It's like, we did it, Jimmy. They're offering a settlement, millions in damages, and a licensing agreement. I mean, it's over. We actually did it. So this is the lesson. This is a lesson of grit. And this is what it looks like. Nothing related to intellectual property is for the short term. It's a long term. In fact, to get a patent sometimes takes 3 to 5 years. And a patent only lasts for 20 years, so you're building portfolios. This is a long play. When you're dealing with trademarks, when you're dealing with copyright, there are things that have to be managed and maintained, strategies have to be updated, and you're always in the fight. Enforcing a defense is litigation, it's lawsuits, it's courtrooms, it's legal battles. You have to have the tenacity, the fortitude for the long haul. Because when your back is against the wall, when you're outgunned, when you're outspent and nearly out of hope, grit is what keeps you going. You have to have faith in your creativity, in your ingenuity, and you have to have the spirit to fight. Jimmy could have easily given up, he could have sold out or walked away, but instead he fought and he won. And in doing so, he secured not just his own legacy, but the future of his company. So this story isn't just about, one man's perseverance. It's a lesson for anyone who holds intellectual property. The IP landscape can be ruthless. I mean, they're sharks. They call it Shark Tank, right? And sometimes companies with vast resources will do everything in their power to take what isn't theirs. But that's where grit comes in. You have to fight for your IP, protect it, fortify it, and defend it at all costs. In fact, this play is called willful infringement. They willfully infringe, and they bet on you running out of money before you actually enforce anything. It's actually a calculated risk. It's a calculated play. So when you take the steps to defend yourself, and when you do, the rewards can be monumental, just like Jimmy, who not only secured the massive victory, but showed that with determination, even the biggest players can be beaten. Imagine that conversation. You get to go to the Goliath and hear from the CEO himself, look, Jimmy, we didn't expect you to hold up this long. You've been a thorn in our side, let's just settle. You name the price. And you can take the high road like Jimmy. It's not about money. It's about what's right. You try to take everything from me, but I didn't back down. Now we do this my way. You'll pay damages, and we'll discuss a licensing agreement on my terms. Fine. But this is a great story. And while this mirrors a real life story, a real life battle, real life is not as picture perfect. So speaking of grit, this story actually mirrors the real life battle of Joe Kiani, the billionaire founder and CEO of Masimo. Now, Kiani is an immigrant who moved from Iran to the United States at the age of 9. And over the past 3 decades, he built the company, Masimo, into a medical technology powerhouse. His most famous invention, the Masimo set technology, which revolutionized the way doctors measure pulse oximetry, is a critical tool for monitoring patients' oxygen levels. So you ever go to the hospital and they put the oxygen sensor on your fingertip, or they're getting your blood pressure and your oxygen levels in your blood and those types of things. These sensors, they have the leading technology for this medical technology. But this journey isn't just about groundbreaking innovation. In 2019, Apple, yes, that Apple, approached Masimo to discuss a potential collaboration involving this pulse oximetry technology. Apple released an Apple Watch, and they wanted to add this tech into their Apple Watch, so they wanted to create some sort of partnership. But things took a turn when, instead of what usually happens in these are $2 billion companies, or substantial companies, corporations that can used to doing things in a legal way. But things took a turn when, instead of striking the typical licensing deal, Apple started hiring Masimo's top engineers. They poached his employees. They offered them outlandish salaries. And then immediately thereafter, they hired a ways engineering team using these ulterior motives. They had them file patents on similar technology, which ultimately found its way to the Apple Watch, specifically the health monitoring features that measure blood oxygen levels. Now, Kiani was a sincere businessman, and he thought that Apple was negotiating in good faith, so he opened up to them so they could get a real licensing agreement. So he felt betrayed. And he wasn't just up against any company. Apple's one of the wealthiest companies on the planet. So they're one of the largest and most valuable companies in the world. And this wasn't just a business agreement. It was a direct challenge to his life's work. Determined to fight, Kiani filed multiple lawsuits accusing Apple of poaching his employees and stealing trade secrets. He alleged that Apple used those inside connections to bypass licensing agreements and infringe on Masimo's patents. Over the years, the legal battle escalated, with Masimo's pursuing claims of patent infringement, theft of trade secrets, and unfair competition. When you look at these, the technology is uncanny, it's the same. Apple basically wanted to take Masimo's technology and import it into their Apple Watch. Of course, that means the Apple Watch is more effective, but the proper way to do that is within a licensing agreement. So imagine how this went legally. I think Masimo is a multi-billion-dollar company at that point. And you can see Joe talking to a leadership team, to his board, and dealing with the legal team. So, and this was off the minute they started hiring our people. Apple doesn't just want to collaborate, they want to steal what we built. We're talking about a behemoth, Joe. I mean, this is Apple, they're going to throw everything at us. I don't care if they're Apple, we built this. They're not going to take it from me without a fight. They think they can just buy their way through anything, but they've underestimated our tech and our grit. And Apple's like, hey, we got the talent, we got the money, pieces are falling in place. We should make sure these guys don't come after us. I mean, if he pushes back, we got legal muscle to handle it. We have a war chest they can't compete with, and it's just business. So let's move quickly before they even know what's happening. So once they get into legal strategy, Masimo's able to, we can read the documents, we can see the actual legal paperwork, we can see the legal fight, we can go through the Court of Appeals, we can see the counts, we can see what patents are being challenged. All of this is happening, okay? And so we can just use our imagination to put what the thought process is as these lawsuits are being filed. For Masimo, their main thing was looking at trade secrets and patent infringement. So I can imagine Joe telling his legal team, we've got them on trade secrets and patent infringement. What do we need to do to win this? I mean, Joe is going to be a marathon, not a sprint. Apple will try to bury us in paperwork and draw this out. But if we stick to the facts, our patents, our technology, we've got a strong case. I don't care how long it takes. We didn't spend decades building this company for them to swoop in and take what's ours. So the major turning point in this, after Masimo suffered tremendous losses, having some of their patents invalidated, was in 2023. A major legal victory came when the U.S. International Trade Commission, the ITC, judge ruled in favor of Masimo, finding that Apple had infringed on several of Masimo's pulse oximetry patents. This was a landmark decision that validated Kiani's claims and demonstrated that even the largest corporations must respect IP rights. Now the battle continues, Masimo seeking compensation and damages and likely possibly blocking future Apple products from using the patent technology. As of now, the legal drama is still ongoing, even right now. But Kiani's victory has sent shockwaves from the tech world to remind innovators they can stand up to even the most powerful competitors. So now how many other companies are going to stand up to Apple now they see that Masimo has some success? And what ended up happening with this particular legal ruling was that the Apple Watch, right before Christmas time in 2023, that the Apple Watch was ready for being sold by Apple at a major time when they make a lot of profit. And so what Apple did was a workaround. They had basically disabled that use of their technology, the pulse oximetry technology, so they could still sell the watch. So it wasn't quite as crippling a blow, but this is giving you real life what happens in an intellectual property stalemate or a battle when you're trying to enforce your rights against a giant juggernaut. So after the ITC ruling, I'm sure that there was celebration. In fact, I sat in on a meeting that Joe Kiani had. He was a guest of the U.S. Inventor nonprofit group, and he shared the story, and I got to hear it first from his mouth. I'm sure they celebrated, but it wasn't the end. He was very well aware that it wasn't the end of the process. There was, I guess, a mention. We can say we did it. We showed them that no matter how big or powerful they are, they can't steal from us. And it took years, but we protected our innovation. And it's not just a win for Masimo. It's a message to every entrepreneur out there. Grit, perseverance, protecting your IP can bring down even the biggest companies. What we did after, we did a little bonus dive. This bonus dive is going to go a little bit deeper into today. So, unfortunately, this is not an all well that ends well story. At the time of recording this podcast, Joe Kiani has resigned as the CEO of Masimo. He is now the founder and former CEO as of September 25th. So his journey, we've talked about him being an immigrant from Iran and coming here at 9 years old, starting up in a garage and building a global powerhouse with a net worth of over $500 million. And as a CEO, being a billionaire, his company took several losses in this battle with Apple. And that troubled the investors. So the board and some of his shareholders, they ousted him. And as resolute as he is a fighter, he fought Apple. He did not back down. He took them to court. He pushed them. He went through the losses, even though Apple had endless resources. But it also jeopardized his standing with the company. While Masimo managed to temporarily ban the sale of certain Apple Watches in the U.S., which was a massive win for the smaller healthcare company, the legal wars fought him over, and it took blow after blow to Masimo, with Apple continuing to fight back, filing counterclaims, and trying to invalidate Masimo's patents, in addition to continuing to poach his engineers and former employees. And just as, I think in January of 2024, they had gotten to, we were dealing with this ITC ruling and trying to work out settling with Apple. Apple fought any type of settlement. They were going to appeal. And a new challenge emerged. He found himself, Joe Kiani found himself in a bitter proxy battle with activist hedge fund, Peloton Capital Management. And they accused Masimo of governance failures and sought changes at the top, which culminated in a shareholder vote that ultimately removed him from the company's board. And just days after this shareholder meeting, Joe Kiani announced his resignation as CEO of the very company he had founded. I mean, this is heartbreaking. So this is just letting you know that this is not a storybook. This is an ongoing process of fighting for what you believe in and defending your IP. Now, Joe could have sold out. He could have folded, but he didn't. And because of that, his employees still have jobs. The company still exists. But you can see he could have reflected, I'm sure that was a hard thing to do, to resign. I can imagine his thoughts. Like, he built the company with his own two hands and in a small measure changed the world. And while this chapter is over, the fight isn't over. Masimo will continue to push boundaries and continue to defend what's rightfully theirs. And I asked Joe, what about Apple? And I'm sure he'd say, we're still pursuing the case. Just because he's stepping down doesn't mean that we stop protecting what we built. So Masimo will win, mark my words. I'm sure that's his thought process. But this is just a lesson, a real life lesson of what grit it takes to stand up for your intellectual property. It shows all the nuance, shows all the highs and lows, the peaks and valleys. And we know that his fight isn't just about patents. It's about grit. perseverance, and protecting the legacy of what you spent decades building, even after stepping down. Masimo continues to battle with Apple in the court, standing firm in the belief that their IP was theirs and it would be defended no matter what. And this is the kind of persistence that's a hallmark of success for every entrepreneur. So whether you're an entrepreneur fighting for your innovations or someone navigating the complex world of intellectual property, grit wins. Just as Jimmy in our imaginary story fought back against corporate titan, Kiani took on Apple for real. And you must have the perseverance to defend what you built. IP battles are not just about ideas, they're about the future, the survival of your business, and the legacy you want to leave behind. And so that's it for today's episode of Patent Insider Secrets and for this 5-part series on the 5 pillars of intellectual property. Remember, intellectual property is more than just an asset. It's a battle to protect what's yours. And sometimes it takes grit, resilience, and unwavering determination to fight and win that fight. So join us next time as we continue our deep dive into the world of intellectual property, what it takes to succeed. Like and subscribe, leave your comments. This is for all the entrepreneurs, business owners, founders, creators, and innovators out there. If you're serious about turning your ideas into powerful assets, you want to understand the science of owning your ideas, now is the time to take action. For this podcast, like, subscribe, and join the Patent Insider Secrets community. We have an online community. We have the Patent Insider Academy, as well as the Patent Insider Secrets community. We have our 5-day IP Mastery Challenge. All of these things are opportunities for you to join and gain more insight into these 5 pillars. Also, how to apply them to your own creativity, your own creative innovations. So like that, say like and subscribe, join Patent Insider Secrets community, and see how we're unlocking the strategies to protect, develop, and commercialize your IP. This podcast is your roadmap to navigating the world of IP with confidence. Don't miss out on the insights, the real-world stories, and the expert advice. We also have interviews with some experts. We have masterclasses, everything that to really get into the nuts and bolts and nitty-gritty when it comes to intellectual property. This could take your business to the next level. Subscribe today, share this episode, and become part of a community of innovators and visionaries, building a future one day, one idea at a time. Thanks for rocking with me. Thanks for checking us out. Join us next time. With that, this is Patent Insider Secrets. I'm your host, Tariq Najila. See you next time.